Hello, welcome to this episode of To the Point. I'm Neil Stanley, and today we're going to talk about how time deposits have maneuvered their way into strategic planning. Over the decades, strategic plans did not focus in on time deposits for community banks. That was not something that we wanted to promote because they were expensive relative to other accounts. And so, with lack of time and attention on CDs, we find that it's an interesting thing that they are now the fastest growing element of your deposit base. Why is that? Bankers didn't really want them because they were expensive in the view of bankers. And depositors didn't really want them because, wow, I've got to make a commitment? I'm not sure why I would want to commit my funds. So today, why do we have growth in CDs at huge levels? It's because of the reluctant banker saying, well, I don't want to reprice my book of non-maturing deposits. I think I should offer a discrete offer. I can promote an interest rate on a specific discrete CD, and the depositor has to take an action to get it. They can't just get it by holding their savings account and we just keep increasing the rate to be close to Fed funds. If you want something close to Fed funds, you have to open up CD. And the depositor said, if that's where the interest rates are, we're willing to commit as long as we don't have to go too long. And because of the yield curve, inverted yield curve, a lot of bankers said, well, we want short-term CDs anyway. So we had this union of demand and supply where we now see CDs as something important. But the reality is we have not spent decades thinking about strategies with CDs. It's only recently, in the last 2 years, that we've started to think, oh, maybe CDs are something we should really use. So we've avoided this topic. We haven't put any research and development in it from either banks or fintechs like we have in lending and payments. So if we think about this, we can justify the lack of strategic effort with CDs because interest rates went from very high rates to very low rates. And in low rates, it made no sense to emphasize CDs. But in rates that are non-trivial, it makes sense. And that's what you have been on the path of. So let's see what the data tells us. If we look at the FDIC data, we find that we hit a peak in in domestic deposits of 18.3 trillion. That produced non-maturing interest-bearing deposits of 11.6, or 63% of the bank deposits were in non-maturing interest-bearing. That was and is a record level for any quarter. Non-interest-bearing hit a record too of 5.5 trillion, or 30% of deposits. And CDs hit a record low of 6.8%, $1.2 trillion. This is the industry statistics. If we go forward and we look at where we're at now, we're down in deposits 7 to 17.3 trillion, down a full $1 trillion. And non-interest bearing, they fell to 3.8 trillion, 22% of the deposits. And the time deposits are record level over all the decades, almost $3 trillion in time deposits. 17% of the portfolio of the industry deposits are now in time deposits. That's why it needs to be on a strategic planning process. And so if we think about this, we also know that brokered means that we've outsourced a lot of our funding. We've said, oh, maybe somebody else can bring in funding better than we can. So we went from $595 billion to $1.3 billion. We can see the graphic of this. You can see the movement of, we have here domestic deposits, non-maturing deposits, that are interest-bearing, non-maturing, non-interest-bearing, and time deposits at that $2.98 trillion level. So if we think about where we're at, we also know that interest expenses become a huge factor. We looked at only $8 billion of interest expense for the entire industry, and now it's $144 billion. This is worthy of time and attention on strategy, on tactics, on the approach, on training, on the process, on the products. All of the things that you need are now worthy of your attention as a senior leader in your financial institution. So I'm going to give you some specific points that I'm going to advocate for. And so I'm going to suggest today that you take out a strategic approach for deposits, and you differentiate yourself from the pack. Many bankers are still doing things like they did decades ago. So what would it be like in aiding your deposit growth campaigns if you made some simple declarative statements where you said, we're going to honor you as we are honored to be your financial institution. We're going to give you these benefits for long-term savers that are not found at all financial institutions. We're going to give you the ability to use a CD loan program. Now, many of your depositors have no idea what a CD loan program is. In fact, some of your employees don't know what a CD loan program is. And you may not even have one today. But almost all financial institutions had one in times past. And essentially what it means is if you have a CD with us, you can borrow back that CD at some basis points over, maybe 200 basis points over the CD rate for as long as you hold that CD. Simple program, very, very operationally efficient, nothing burdensome about this. We highly recommend having it and letting people know you have it. And the key is not everybody does have it, and you want to plant doubt in the mind of that depositor who's shopping you to give doubt that maybe not everybody's going to treat them like you do. The other thing you need to do is recognize that some financial institutions have fine print that says we may give you early withdrawal. You want to be the financial institution that guarantees that early withdrawal is never restricted, and also that accrued interest will never be withheld. Withholding accrued interest is in my opinion, a very random thing to do, because on a certain day, after they've just compounded the interest, they're getting paid all of their accrued interest. But on the day before they've compounded it to the account, paid it to the account, they're not getting their accrued interest. And many financial institutions are locked into this relic idea that we don't pay accrued interest if they withdraw early. You're still going to charge them an early withdrawal fee, but just don't charge them, don't withhold accrued interest. It's random and it's arbitrary and it makes no sense. And because others do it, you can be the hero in the story. Also, be sure to offer partial withdrawal. Many financial institutions will say, if you want to withdraw some, you have to withdraw it all and pay the penalty on it all. That's ridiculous. Why would you want to do that? We need to understand that if somebody needs $10,000 out of their $100,000 CD, only charge them a fee on the amount they withdraw. You're trying to keep these accounts healthy and vibrant and competitive. Don't create arbitrary penalties. Be assured that time account criteria or aspects, critical aspects, will not be changed by us before maturity. It's rare, but some financial institutions have tried to change interest rates or term over the life of the account. Assure them that that will not be the case with you. Also, physical presentment of a physical document is not required. We need to have book entry CDs. If you document them with a CD, with a document, that's fine. But don't demand that for for cashing in the account. It is unnecessary in today's technology. Why would they have to present that? It's super frustrating for anyone who inherits a CD and has to go track down that physical document. It's just not required. It should not be required. Lastly, when you have a document like this that states your fundamental commitments, put in there, we encourage you to check out our exclusive companion deposit account as you're opening up a CD. You can give your depositor this at the beginning of a sales conversation or anywhere throughout it, and especially at the end where you're wanting to assure them that they've made a great choice in selecting you compared to the world out there that may not observe these fundamental things. Now, when it comes to your checklist, we want you to consider all the things on this list as things that you might want to engage. I put a link in here. I'll put it in the YouTube notes that you can get this link of interest-bearing deposit practices checklist and use that to work through your strategic plan for these very significant deposits today. We're in the CD business now, folks. And the phrase I like is, whatever is worth doing at all is worth doing well. And that is not going to be the case if you don't study this issue. You need to know how you will proceed with this important element of what we do. We encourage you, as we're in the strategic planning season, now to take time to focus in on this essential part of the business that you've likely spent no time on in strategic planning in the past. I want you to also feel very, very welcome to set up a time with me to talk about this or other topics using my Calendly link. It's been a pleasure to present this episode of To The Point. I look forward to seeing you, hearing from you, and presenting the next episode in the near future. Make it a great day.